My name is Michele Paiva. I'm a financial therapist, and I have 3 decades of experience in helping people to manage their feelings around their finances. Money is loaded with emotions, and I help people with investments and budgets, and especially debt. And when you have debt, all of your relationships become more impacted by that debt and by the feelings around debt. So, EarnIn has a series, and I'm going to be providing some commentary on it. We're going to be looking at some of the wins and some of the clues of what might be really going on. And you're going to see how Tanya, the host, leads everyone through a coaching process where they're allowed to be vulnerable in a very safe space. So let's dive in.
If there's someone who's dealing with debt, I want them to know that life goes on. Just as well as things fall apart, things can fall back together. So first, everybody take a deep breath.
So Tanya, who is a financial expert, just told everyone to take a deep breath. And so what she's doing there is helping them to kind of reassess, to rework, to get back on track. So by having deep breathing and by asking everyone to take a deep breath, she's helping them to ignite their parasympathetic system. And that is going to help them to not only physically become calm, but also mentally more clear. So in your life, make sure when you feel yourself getting stressed out, even if you think it's just mental, take a deep breath.
I would say money was abused, as there was substance abuse in my household. Money wasn't discussed. It was yelled about, basically, so.
When you have addiction and you have yelling in the house, that's a child that was around some painful stuff, right? So now she's an adult and she's remembering that and she sort of giggles like, so that's her coping strategy. That shows her resilience and her ability to say, you know what, that wasn't right, but it's not gonna get me down.
Parents didn't make enough to cover college, but they made too much for financial aid to cover it. So I took out a loan.
This is such a big problem when you are in a situation where you don't really make enough money, but you don't qualify for a lot of the support and aid that's available. A lot of people fall into that. So if you're in that situation, understand that you are definitely not alone. There are more people in that situation than not.
Why do you think it's hard to talk about debt?
Definitely has caused a lot of anxiety for me, but talking to people that kind of had their stuff together, I was very afraid of a lot of my aunts asking me what's going on. I'm like, making things up, just the stigma, just feeling like you're like a failure, you're not doing what you're supposed to do with your life.
This is so important. When she said stigma and feeling like a failure, debt does that to us sometimes. It makes us feel like it is a part of us rather than something external. So no matter what you're going through, make sure that you realize that debt is debt, but you are you. You are independent of it. That is something that you can manage and you will manage.
So now we're gonna put on our creative hats. When you think of debt, what does it look like in your mind?
I've always thought of it kind of as like the ocean, right? Like the wave.
That is such a good example, debt being like a wave. And there's something that you can do, and I call it wave surfing or urge surfing. So something that you can do is imagine temptations as the peak of a wave, okay? And so you have these peaks of the wave, and every time there's a peak, that's a temptation. Just ride it out. Temptation, ride it out. So some of those temptations might be a friend asks you to go out and you can't afford it, or a parent says, oh, can you pick up X, Y, and Z at the grocery store since you're already there on your dime? These are things where it's tempting to say yes to people, but if you stay focused on the prize, which is your financial wellness, then you can say, oh, I'm sorry, don't have the money right now.
And we're thinking about relief. What are some of the other things that you do to stay on track financially?
To have EarnIn to depend on definitely gave me a sense of relief. We don't want to always have to depend on people.
Kind of has become that shoulder to lean on, or that family member that I can just hit up.
When you have something that gives you relief, that makes you feel like you could just get through the next hour, the next day, whatever, because you've had some relief. If you're thirsty, drinking some water. If you're hungry, eating something, the relief. These are survival spaces. If you have something like EarnIn that allows you to access your wages, that is directly a part of your survival, directly. So that relief actually builds resilience, and it helps you to be more clear. It lets you to take it down a notch and to move forward. And again, focus on that financial wellness.
There's no hidden motive. There's no fine print you have to read, and it's very straightforward. It's that safety net with no long-term repercussions behind it.
I love how he said safety net. So a lot of us, when we're really stressed, we feel like we're alone, and we also feel like we're afraid of making the wrong move. That's why a lot of people, when they're in traumatic or bad situations, they don't make a move. And so they're talking about EarnIn as a safety net. And so that's really important from a psychological space, to know that you have something that will give you security for you and your family.
I appreciate how transparent you've been. You just met me today.
I feel like you were an easy person to talk to about my debt, because typically I'll say everything's okay.
Being in a safe space is so important. To have friends, family, a therapist, a coach, anyone who you can connect with to be able to give you that support is important, because you have a voice. So this was such a beautiful, beautiful episode. So now I'm going to go to the next episode.
So we're going to dig deeper into debt, and we're going to do something that is unthinkable. And that is, we're going to guess each other's debt amount.
Okay, now I don't want to give anything away, so I'm going to forward a little bit here. But this is interesting, because in the guessing of the debt, there were some people that were kind of close, and there were some people that were really surprised. So I'm going to move forward a little bit, because I don't want to give anything away.
My husband and I, we do not talk about debt or finances, unfortunately, at all. And he's always, pressuring, like, we have to talk about this.
So this is a very common scenario, not talking about finances with your partner. A lot of times what happens is one partner wants to talk about it, but they might come across as very aggressive, and the other partner shuts down. So the clue is, if you see your partner really escalating and very stressed out over money, instead of you completely shutting down, because that would be the opposite, try to match their energy just a little bit. So a lot of times, if someone is really just, oh my gosh, I can't believe we have this debt, why did you, and they're pointing the finger, because that happens when people get stressed out sometimes, then just say, listen, I get it. This is a bad situation. Let's sit down and talk, but we need to blow off some steam. We need to not be in this space, because it's just going to be an argument. So let's not put it off for a day. Let's just put it off for half an hour. And that way they see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they're not going to say, oh, you're going to say tomorrow, but tomorrow you'll be busy. And then you are going to be able to get them down a little bit, so you don't have to be so shut down. And if it's the other way around and you're the one that is more vocal, then that's kind of the opposite. So if you see them shutting down, I don't want you to escalate to try to get a rise out of them, to try to get them to talk. Kind of bring it down a little bit and give them a safe space, and don't put it off till tomorrow, but don't be overwhelming and intimidating to them. So this is a very common thing, and I could go hours talking about couples and money, but we're gonna go back here because this is awesome.
What are ways you can teach children about debt?
And I would say start out with the concept of like money, not debt. And understanding how money works for us, understanding what a budget is. Maybe start off with a budget, because debt might scare them.
So I love that she said that, because debt can be scary. And if your mindset is that money is about debt, then you're not going to have a healthy relationship with money. Okay? There, I said it. You need to think about finances and money as something that's empowering and wonderful. When you teach children about money, you're teaching them about boundaries. You're teaching them about priorities. And so it's not just about dollars and cents. And I know there's some schools of thought that are all about chore charts and money and all of that, but that's just teaching stuff. That's not teaching the feelings behind it. Why does the chore matter? How much do I really want for that chore? Maybe I don't mind cleaning the bathroom, but I can't stand doing the sink. Maybe I should get more money for X, Y, or Z. Have children talk about what they're feeling about money and things and get to know what their priorities are, and that will help them more. And if you support them more in what their priorities are and accept when their priorities change, that actually teaches them a lot more about money than just dollars and cents.
So going back to school, I cannot get financial aid anymore. I'm gonna have to take out more student loans, you know?
Yeah, I understand. So it's kind of you're figuring out what to do.
Yeah, what to do. Do I go back to school and create more debt for myself and say, hey, I did it? Or do I just, take a back seat and do my own self-teaching, go from there and don't worry about, that paper that, says I did it,
You look great.
Thank you, okay.
If I would let my guard down right now, I would probably be crying, because I know the feeling of juggling what is best for my children, what is best for me. And it's not always the same. And it's hard when you have to sacrifice for your children. It's hard when you want to go back to school and you can't afford financial aid, or you don't qualify for it, or whatever. And so seeing her and hearing her is big. It's big for me, and it might be big for you too. And she is very empowering, and she is very passionate.
If debt was a person in this room, what would you say to them?
Get back. Get back, debt. Or I'm not afraid of you, debt, but I just don't want it anymore.
I wish I could hug her. I wish I could applaud her, and she would know. She's empowering.
I would do my best to avoid debt.
You wouldn't even talk to me.
No.
You wouldn't even say anything.
No, it's nothing to say, You knew me, you don't know me anymore.
Oh, I love that. I love that he just said that. You knew me, you don't know me anymore. Do you know how true that is? Things happen in the past and it changes you. And it doesn't always change you for the worse. Like in that moment, it's horrible. I would never wish trauma or stress or anything on anyone. But the coping strategies that you learn along the way in your life, whether it's a little stress or a big trauma, you're not the same person. So guess what? It's like, no. Something that happened to you 10 years ago, 20 years ago, no, you don't know me anymore because now I've come this far. That is so empowering. I love that. Yes, I love that.
I'd probably think some, choice 4-letter words, but I think I've gotten to a point now where I feel good about this, and I've learned enough where you don't have the power like you once did.
You don't scare me anymore.
Right, very much so.
Okay, we are now in episode 3. I'm not going to give everything away. This is going to be a little shorter, but I want you to be here with me with this. Here we go.
To be unburdened, I would say that means to be at peace and at ease.
Freedom from the expectations that come along with debt.
The weight of specifically debt on your shoulders, just to have relief.
And breaking away shackles little by little.
She makes me cry,
That's
this
been
one.
holding me down.
Listen, I just want to say there's one woman in here that just makes me, honestly, I guess I can see myself in her. She just gets me. She makes me tear up. They all move me. Everyone here moves me. And I think when you watch, I think you will find one person that is sort of your archetype that you connect more with, but you're going to find yourself in a little bit of everyone. And also when I look at it, I see my husband, my dad, my son, my daughter, my aunts. Like I'm seeing generations of me there, and we're all interconnected. So anyway, let's get back here. Let's see what Tanya has to say.
You look at your bank account. You may say XYZ is important, but actually snacks from the gas station. It's important to audit your bank account and look at what did I spend my money on this week and what is it that I'm saying that I value, but how I'm spending my money.
Tanya just said something really important, and I'm paraphrasing, but what do I value? So when you're spending money, focus on what you value, not on what your mom values, not on what you think you should get your kids to match the other kids in the neighborhood. Focus on you, because you are worth it. And I know I'm feeling a little emotional right now. I didn't think this was going to happen, because I already know what's going to happen in this episode, and I'm not going to tell you about it. But I remember being a young mom in the grocery store, and I remember, so I'm holding a toddler and I'm pregnant, and I remember the feeling of not being able to pay my grocery bill. And if I would have had some kind of opportunity to just say like, hey, I have a paycheck coming, like, can I just get a little something now to be able to feed my child? So when I hear these stories, I'm feeling it deep. If I could go from not being able to buy a jar of baby food to buying that same child and the child that I was pregnant with, to buying them land and investments, if I can do it, you can do it, okay? All right.
Snowball method.
Yeah.
Right, familiar with the snowball method? You start with the smallest balance and you pay that off and then move to the next smallest one, the next smallest one. Gives you gratification, you feel like you're actually making progress. You don't have to fix everything at one time. I take baby steps to getting back on track financially, and then you'll start to see progress.
That was a mic drop. Those little tiny bills feel like, well, I'm only getting rid of this, maybe $130 bill, but I still have $65,000. Be proud of getting rid of debt. I'm going to end it here because it's going to start getting super emotional and I don't want to give anything away. These were deep stories. These were powerful stories. And I would like to know your thoughts. Have you been through any of this? Did anything I say resonate? Did any of this help you in some kind of way? Do you feel a little tiny bit better about what you're going through than you did before that you started watching this? If there's any lessons that you feel that you might have learned here through me, through Tanya, through any of these individuals, whether it's Christina, Cody, Nina, Cedric. So I just want to thank everyone here and there for your bravery, because we all deserve it. I deserve to say to myself, Michele, you were brave. And you were brave for going to school, and you were brave for doing X, Y, and Z. And I often don't give myself credit for it. So if I do this for a living and I can recognize that I'm not doing it enough for me, you're probably not doing it enough for you either if this isn't your day-to-day, right? So give yourself credit for what you're doing. Even if all you're doing right now is recognizing that there's a problem, that's a big deal. The healing process starts when you decide you don't want to feel the pain anymore. So leave your comments below. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and with EarnIn and with Tanya. And if you haven't seen Unburdened yet, go ahead and check it out. If you have seen it, let me know what you think. But either way, I think you're going to really love it. And honestly, you're going to get sucked in. All right, bye.